Welcome back to Royals Review Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Worth, joined as ever by Jimmy. 2024 is over. The Royals end the year on a high, with Noel Hunt getting his first win against Northampton and backing it up with another home victory over Mansfield. We've been away for a little while, celebrating the guy to my left, but might be to your right on the screens, 30th birthday. So firstly, happy birthday, Jim.
Thank you very
and what
much.
did you make? What did you make of your birthday? Any good?
Yeah, mate, quality. Absolutely quality. Loved it.
Good stuff. So for anyone at home who hasn't seen the tweets or didn't know, James is 30 years old. So he's, almost too old to play for Reading now, which is quite a sad realisation. Although, depending on what happens in January, he may still need to get the call up. But as I said, we're ending the year on a high. We'll briefly touch on the Northampton win because we didn't do a pod. So, Jim, any thoughts on the victory over Northampton? Obviously, a bit of a thumping for them from Reading.
Yeah. Exactly that. Great performance. Fantastic late Christmas present for Noel, especially as it was his first win as Reading manager. But yeah, it's good to see that it looks like all the worries from Sellers leaving have seemingly been forgotten about, and the team are pushing on, which I guess leads us onto Mansfield.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think actually the Northampton win came on Noel's birthday, didn't it? I think his birthday is Boxing Day.
Oh, is it? I didn't even know that. Fair
late
play
Christmas present and birthday present.
Uh-huh.
As you said, we'll come on to Mansfield, but I'm going to just take this opportunity. I'm so happy for Noel. I think he really deserves. We've covered this, I know, but I think he really deserved the chance to be our first team manager. And it could have been really tough if that run of without a win had rolled on and into the new year. Like, people were already sort of starting to suggest that he might not ever get it and all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad he has. We can just put all of that rubbish behind him, and now we can just focus.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about Mansfield then, because again, I thought Reading were very good. Totally different opponents, Northampton and Mansfield, in my opinion, but also I'm pretty sure most people would agree with me. Like Northampton, team that have just got a new manager, are right down the bottom. They're not great, and a team you'd expect us to win, especially at home. But Mansfield, actually half decent. I think you even told me this the other day, that they don't concede that many goals. They don't score that many, but they have a positive goal difference. But again, I thought Reading stepped up for the occasion and obviously got the win. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, definitely one of the better sides we've come across this season. And yeah, like you said, I know we were discussing their form, their record against Reading, which isn't great. I think it was actually terrible, their form against Reading. And like what we can expect from them pre-match. And I think in a way it actually played out a little bit differently. I was expecting it to be pretty dull, with the teams evenly matched and like a single goal proving to be the winner, but that wasn't really the case. Both sides started pretty evenly, but again, it was Reading who opened the scoring after a great goal from Kamara and a great ball from Wing. Kamara, second goal in 2 games. He's been pretty good recently, hasn't
he? Yeah, he's been all right, which is funny because he's probably the one player that I've been quite critical of for Reading. I thought he was quite ineffective for large periods of this season so far, but can't really argue with that. I think was it 2 goals in 2 games and an assist as well, which is exactly what we need players in his position or in that position to be doing, particularly in the absence of Kelvin. So yeah, I mean, fair play to him. He seems like a lovely guy, so I do feel quite bad, sort of bad mouthing him. But yeah, I thought he was relatively rubbish until very recently. So a great time for him to come.
Yeah, he's definitely upped his game. I think we saw like a similar sort of not an issue, because all of these players are still so young and they're just breaking through. But I think we saw similar with Chem Campbell when he first started playing. Didn't really look like he would be able to offer anything, but look at him now. He's a player that, I mean, I know he's our only signing this season, but he's a player that we should be doing everything to try and keep. He's had a real impact in the last few months, hasn't he? So I'm hoping, Kamara can sort of follow suit and push on now that he's picking up some good form. But
Yeah,
no,
go
sorry,
on.
carry on.
I was just going to say I completely agree, mate. I just like to see players getting better because we've spoken about it loads. Like we're obviously a League One side. Like the players aren't going to be top quality. Particularly, not only are they League One players, but they're also very young. So what you see these players, they are going to get better. Like even if it's not to a massive ceiling, they are going to improve with experience. And I think we're seeing that for a lot of players, as you mentioned. And long may it continue.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously the second half, so the Mansfield match started pretty similar to the first, with both teams pretty evenly matched. But then Wings' deep free kick, which looked like it came back off the post. I've watched the replay to try and work out if it was a fingertip save or if it did come back off the post. But anyway, that was headed back across to the man himself, Tyler Bindon, who obviously had one thing left on his checklist to get one up on Tom Holmes, and that's obviously a bicycle kick. So yeah, released his inner Wayne Rooney and pulled out what proved to be the winner. Quality, wasn't it?
So good, so good. Like honestly, there isn't anything that boy can't do. I think he's got such a high ceiling, and like look, before anyone says it, it is not based on that goal that is making me say that he has a high ceiling and that he can be like Premier League standard and beyond. But I just think like he has so many like strings to his bow. Like he's so good, so many things. And that goal, you just like you look at it and just laugh. You're like, mate, fair play. Like,
Yeah.
I actually didn't think it was Bindon when it first went in, and I was like, it's not going to be him, is it? Like, it's an overhead kick, but no, it was him.
It was
Um, I just like again, like we're talking about young players here, but he's just been so good for us this season. Um, he is probably, as loads of people have mentioned, he's probably our hottest prospect in terms of um, clubs coming in and looking to grab in January. I would have thought. Um, I would love it if we could keep him because I think he's genuinely. I mean, I don't want to say the best centre back in the league because, admittedly, I only really watch a lot of the other teams when we play them. But I don't know if I've seen anyone in the league that's been better this season. I think he's so good, and he's. I tweeted the other day. He's obviously the highest rated under 21 player in the whole of the division, which probably includes a lot of Reading players. But so good. Really don't want to see him go. Any other words for Tyler Bindon, or just to echo my
Yeah, not
love?
really. To be honest, he's fantastic, and at such a young age, doing what he's doing. Yeah, he's destined for the top, really, isn't he?
Yeah,
I think if a team in the Championship does come in for him, like he fully deserves it. So, and you know, realistically, would you take the offer if you got offered game time for a team in the Championship? And it would probably be a pretty decent Championship side as well that would come in for him.
mm-hmm.
You probably would in the situation that we're in. So I'm just hoping if he does go, it's you know, if it's to a Premier League side, hopefully we could get like a loan back or something like we saw with Tom Holmes when he signed for Luton. But if it is to a championship side, I just hope we get a fee that we can eventually, you know, end up using and reinvesting into the squad. But
Yeah, for sure.
I think both are definitely wishful thinking in the situation that we're in.
Yeah, we're not really in a position to get best case scenario, are we? Unfortunately, but
No.
we'll see how that all unfolds. We won't spend too much time on January, but obviously we've got that to look forward to as of like 48 hours away. I'm sure we'll cover that in future podcasts, but hopefully Tyler gets what he wants, and hopefully he wants to stay. But if not, then he deserves a lot more. One last point on Mansfield, then, before we move on. We've spoken about how good Bindon was. It wasn't even the highest rated in the game because, unfortunately for him, he has to play alongside Mr. Lewis Wing, who seems to be the best player on any pitch he plays on, particularly at this level. An 8.2 rating from WhoScored.com. Obviously, the assist. He's so good. Like, he's definitely the best Reading player I've seen for a long time, man. Like, I have nothing but superlatives to say for him. He's won 5 Man of the Match awards now. I think only Kwame Poku. Did I say it? Kwame Poku? Yeah. Only he's won more, which just goes to show, like, he's right. I think he's the 5th highest rated player in the league. He's in the team of the season at the moment. I don't think he's going to leave. I don't want to talk about that, but he's so good. He offers so much to this side. And it was just another chance to give him a round of applause, really, because he definitely deserves it. I was laughing the other day, actually, before the Boxing Day game, and someone posted on Twitter, Hope Lewis Wing had his Christmas Day spag bowl. I'd be quite interested to know what all of them had for Christmas dinner. I'd imagine it might be slightly different to what you and I had, but there we go. Right. 2024, Jim.
Yeah.
I want to know your thoughts on the whole. Don't take too much time. I'll give you one sentence on 2024 for Reading FC.
One sentence. Wow. Yeah, I mean, off pitch, awful. Pretty much as bad as it could be. Continuous lies and seemingly no end sight. It literally couldn't be worse. And yeah, so disappointing that there's very little communication from the club. I feel like we're overdue now for this statement that they're supposed to be putting out each month. Or the EFL, who I think should definitely be taking some responsibility. So yeah, so poor. But on pitch, fantastic. Bringing players through the academy. This is getting a lot more than one sentence, but I'll wrap it up soon. All proven to be, impactful. Dealing with Sellers leaving, etc. To be sat in the playoffs at the end of 2024 with a game in hand on Stockport is pretty fantastic, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't agree any more with what you said, really. The only thing I've written down here to talk about is the home form. It's just been ridiculously good. And there have been a few years now where our away form has been terrible. And you know what, like it started pretty badly. Well, it not started specifically because it was okay at Birmingham, but the start of the season continued in that run of form. We have started picking up points away from home now, which is why, as you say, we're in 6th in the playoffs. But the home form particularly has been superb. And long may that continue, because I think Reading fans definitely deserve it. It's nice to go to Select Car Leasing Stadium and see players play with their heart on their sleeve and play with passion. And obviously it's lovely to pick up points, particularly at home in front of bigger crowds and things like that. So the home form was the key thing for me in 2024 that, yeah, I've been really impressed with. And as you said earlier, Noel Hunt seems to have picked up where Sellers left off, particularly at home. So, yeah, long may it continue. Hopefully that is the same in 2025. But we shall see. I think we both have the same. We'll have the same what we'd like to see different in 2025. I think every Reading fan in the world would like to see the back of the plague ownership that we are currently being tarnished with. But as you say, on the pitch, pretty good. I don't think anyone would be upset with a playoff spot at Christmas had it been offered at the start of the season. So yeah, I think a lot to be sort of positive about, really, in 2024.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll move on to the questions, because this is a nice point to do so, because the first question is, what does a good 2025 look like for Reading?
Well, I mean, stating the obvious, a new owner as soon as possible, because I think if this drags on until summer next year, and we've got nothing's really happened in the last year except we've just lost players. There's not really been, and obviously the whole Rob Coig situation, but we're still in the same situation, right?
Yeah,
I think if that happens again this year, we're going to just be looking at relegation. We're going to have barely any players, and even thinner squad than we do already. We're going to have lost all of the quality players, the experienced players that we've currently got. We are, players that are still under contract. They're going to probably be looking at moves to other clubs. So I think a good 2025 just looks like getting a new owner in as of yesterday. It's overdue. It's long overdue. Yeah. So it just needs to happen ASAP.
Yeah, I agree. I think if there was no ownership issue, a good 25 for Reading would be a mid-table and above finish, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually, you know what, I kind of hate talking about years on the whole because it's so confusing, right? There'll be 2 seasons in 2025. But this season, I think a mid-table and above finish, had there been no ownership issues, would be a good season for Reading. And I mean, like that could all still happen if the ownership issue does get solved. But I'm not getting carried away.
Mm-hmm.
I think keeping hold of a few key players would be nice. But even like this is quite a sad thing to say, but even getting the right fee for players is a good 2025 for Reading. Like we've seen so many players leave on useless deals that have brought in little to no money for us.
Yep.
Or left on freeze. Like we are currently in the position where we need to make money. So if players are going to leave, I think we need to make sure that we're getting the right fee for them, and not like, for example, Bindon. Like I would hate to get to the end of the season and see him leave for free when like we could definitely get a solid fee for him right now. And I'm not saying by any means that I wanted to leave. Like there couldn't be further from the truth. But yeah, we need to be having a proper think about that.
Yeah, for sure.
That leads on to another question then that's kind of similar, really. After the first half of this season, where do you think Reading will finish?
Well, I've been saying playoffs since the start of the season. After watching the team play in pre-season, obviously since then we've had, I guess, 2 sort of major hiccups with Sellers leaving, and this rumor of a fire player sale in January. So I think, yeah, if we do manage to get to the end of January and we've not lost, you know, I'm assuming Bindon is going to go. It makes sense, unfortunately. But if we do only lose Bindon and we do manage to replace him in some sense, I do think we could still aim to get a playoff place. But it's just getting increasingly unlikely with what's happened. So I think if I'm being sensible, I'd probably change that to a mid-table finish. But I really hope that that they can get a playoff spot. I think we've got the quality for it. It's just whether we can hold on to them throughout January. But yeah, I mean, not getting relegated is realistically the main aim, given everything that's going on. But I think we're better than that anyway. So yeah, mid-table.
Yeah. I think that's a very good shout, to be honest. Like, I think I'm going to stick with it because I've said it all season from the start of the season. But I think Reading will come 8th. I think probably, if I'm being a little easier on myself, probably like 8 to 12, which is probably pretty similar to your prediction actually. But I've said from the start that I think Reading will just miss out on playoffs, and I've not really seen anything to suggest why that would be far from what happens. Obviously, we still don't know what's going to go on, and if it is just Bindon, then I'm with you. I think we probably still can push for playoffs. But if it's everyone, or if it's a lot of the core of this side, and it's like a massive overhaul in the new year, then I think we'll struggle. Not only because the quality of the players will drop, but as you said, the squad is so thin. I don't think we can really dip any deeper into our academy for reinforcements really without it having a huge impact on the strength of the squad. So,
just to add to that, and I know we were chatting about this. Like realistically, what players can you see at what teams? And I think there's a couple of players. I'm not even going to mention their names because I don't want to. Not that any scouts or anything are watching this, but I don't even want to kick off the conversation. But there's definitely a couple of players in this squad who I can realistically see getting moves to the Championship. But then there's a handful of players that I can see getting moves to higher League One clubs. And I think the fact that we're sitting in 6th as a player for Reading, you'd be thinking you'd if we were sat just above the relegation zone, you'd probably be looking to jump ship. But being in sixth, I'm hoping just adds a little bit more, puts them at ease ever so slightly. Because I think the worry is the better League One clubs coming in and just getting those players that weaken us when we're already at our weakest, and then sort of push them, over the finishing line.
Yeah, I agree. It will be horrible to lose players to League One opposition. But look, that's just sometimes the way the cookie crumbles, and we'll probably just have to deal with that if that is the case. But yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we get through it. Like I tweeted a few weeks ago, like I just want to wake up on February 1st, to be honest. Just get it done. Like if you're gonna go, go. If you're not, then like I don't want to hear it. Do you know what I mean? Right, fun question before a bit of a serious one that I've given no thought to. So that could be fun too. Out of the two of us, who do you think will drink more pints in 2025?
I'm toning it down massively. You can take that one. I'll happily look at that one.
I think that was a bit of a tap in for me, to be honest. I don't really know what ones would be in your favour. What questions would be in your favour? Who's going to drink the most lime and sodas? I think you'll probably win that because I don't really like them.
I'll win that one this year. Well, next year.
Yeah, you'll drink more ginger beer than me, to be fair.
All day.
There we go. Or pints of Coke as well. It doesn't have to be beer. Maybe we'll be really equal with a pint of Coke.
We'll find out. We'll review this in a year's time.
I'd have to say though, if I had the tally this year, 2025 will definitely be fewer pints than 2024. That's my goal.
Yeah, I didn't drink loads when I was away, so
yeah,
I think the second half of this year may have skewed that massively for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, last one then. What formation and tactics do you think Noel Hunt will adopt when playing away in 2025?
One that hopefully brings back 3 points every time we play away. But I mean, to be honest, I don't really know. I still don't really have an answer for why we're so poor away from home. Whether it's confidence and just the fact that we were so poor away from home for so long. I would rather they stick with a similar and not have sort of two setups and just become fantastic at playing one or two sort of ways, both home and away. We've seen our home form. I just don't get why the away form is so poor. Not managed to work that one out, unfortunately. I don't think Sellers managed to work that one out either, but hopefully Noel can. So good luck to him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is not going to be the answer this person was looking for, but I don't know. I have no idea. And I agree with you. I don't necessarily think that he should have two setups or even like formations. I think more of the same and maybe a focus on instilling a bit more confidence, which is so easy to say, but will only really come from results. But the fact that the home form is so good definitely helps. And as I've said all along, and I think you have too, like we don't need to win every game away from home. We just need to continue our form at home and pick up a few points at home on the road, and we'll be in the playoffs. So I don't really like to over scrutinise away games. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd love for us to go and win every single away game for the rest of existence, but one, it's not going to happen, and two, it just doesn't need to for us to be a successful side. So I think just more of the same, to be honest, and hopefully build some confidence. And then I think the results will just come from that, because currently the squad that we have or the 11 we have, it's good enough to be winning some of these games away from home. So,
yeah. Definitely. I mean, what I will say, just to sort of give a slightly better answer, is if he was to play sort of like three centre halves at the back, I do think Garcia as like a wing back would be fantastic. We've seen how good he is going forward, especially in like the opposition's half and
Mm.
like the final third of the pitch, I guess. And I think when we get Yeardon back and a Brafer, they're both good at going forward. Even Mbenge, I mean, he loves. I don't think there's anyone in the squad that loves a run forward more than him, and he's played out on the right before. So if he was to play three centre halves and wing backs, it could work. But I think it would be better just to sort of stick with a system that all the players know and just get confident playing that way away from home, which fingers crossed will come.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, that rounds us off for another episode of the Royals Review podcast. As ever, thanks very much for watching. Please do like, follow, subscribe, and all the nice things for our social platforms and our podcast. Thanks very much, Jim, for joining me as ever. I'll see you tomorrow for some New Year's Eve celebrations. For any listeners, enjoy your New Year's Eve. Have a great 2025. Come on, you R's!